Hi everyone, this is the public weekly stock market update for you. Absolute must watch. You're going to love this. A lot of time and effort have gone into it. First things first, this is not a solicitation to buy or sell any individual security, and it is not individual financial advice because I'm not speaking to you individually to begin with anyway. Okay, so where are we? Interest rates went down. Should be good for the UK economy and animal spirits. That's relatively positive, but it doesn't mean it's going to be a runaway success because historically the UK markets have not been a runaway success. It was only 2 months ago they were at 2019 level on the FTSE 100. Gold all-time highs. Time to start shorting gold futures, doubtless because commodities move in cycles and this is way off the scales. Of course, in the short term, which could be in the next second, the futures could rise or fall, but longer term, no. Oil price shock. If the Indians go into the open market on oil, then CNBC thinks the price of oil will be $200. If that happens, then you're looking at a massive oil price shock and higher cost of living in the West, which is why the Americans pleaded with the Indians not to go out in the public market, but buy more from the Russians to stabilize the market, refine it, and then sell it to Europe. They seem to have changed their mind. It's not like Donald Trump to change his mind. Look at how much he consistently loves Elon Musk. Ukraine, I don't think there's going to be a peace deal in Alaska. I'll be surprised if the meeting even happens. There will be no Nobel Peace Prize for Donald Trump, partly because the people who make choices for the Nobel Peace Prize, school teachers and the type, out of Norway. I think all the other prizes are out of Sweden, but the Nobel Peace Prize is out of Norway. They're really not the type who are suddenly going to start a love affair with Donald Trump. Trump always chickens out. That's exactly what will happen. He can't afford oil prices to go to $200. And Putin will lead him along, drag him along until Putin's military objectives, whatever those might be, are achieved. So expect some flip-flops. Trump will obviously spin it as a success. What does that mean for the markets? Nothing really. Will make no difference. When it doesn't happen, the markets will say, well, what do we expect? So it won't tank the market. The S&P is at all-time highs. It is relatively overvalued. Let's look at some of those things now. By the way, this in the public domain, so not confidential. You can see some of the biggest chip makers and what they're doing. Intel is who Trump's been attacking most recently. He's obviously got some intel that the Chinese origin CEO has a conflict of interest and wants the CEO to resign. And that's not helped Intel's price either. I don't trade on bottom fishing, or news or narrative, so I'm not about to go in on the speculative basis that maybe it's bottomed out now. It's not how I do things. I do things based on data and analysis. In other words, valuation, growth, revenue streams, dividend yields, and the like. Okay, but others of you might like to speculate and punt. I don't speculate, I don't punt. This from Goldman Sachs, which I thought was interesting as well. What is your view on the S&P 500? What is your view on US dollar exchange rates? Well, US dollar exchange rates, bullish dollar, bullish S&P is, as of their survey, their monthly quick poll survey as of 2nd of July, they're the people Goldman Sachs speak to, which one can assume are people with the money to make things happen, are bullish on both. Returns after economic and geopolitical shocks. Again, this from a different private bank, JP Morgan Asset Management. Shocks are good. So if we do get that oil price shock, then you should expect in 1 to 3 years, the returns should be relatively good. A good reminder also not to panic, which people tend to do quite a bit. World stock market returns. I thought here I would compare over the last 10 years the S&P 500, again I got this from JP Morgan Asset Management, with the FTSE All Share. And you can see that, well, the FTSE All Share, bottom of the pile, US double. Now, you might say, well, surely that will revert back to mean. It hasn't done so over any rolling 10-year period since the Second World War. Of course, we all like to think that we live in unique times. We don't. Strong margins with the major companies in the S&P 500, their net profit margins well over 10%. I think in the UK it tends to be about 10%. So higher profit margins means they can absorb shocks such as tariffs. And that's good. That's good for both those companies. It's good for the stock market as a whole that they've got that kind of cushion. They are not on razor thin. This is not Ryanair we're talking about, these companies. By the way, for those of you who've got kids, or for those of you looking at careers in finance, there's a whole bunch of materials I've put up on my website, all for free. If you go to www.investing-champions.com, you will find it there. Commandments of investing. I put these together recently. You can pause this video and read these in your own time, should you so wish. They are rather good, though, and they're not the type that you'll have heard before. Okay, so do have a look, do have a read, do ponder over them, do meditate over them. They will make you a better investor. Also, I want you to have a look at this. Retail investors tend to search for some kind of ideal, the sort of impossible perfection. In actual fact, in life, most people who are successful are there. Okay, and that's actually what we're trying to do. There are, for instance, cognitive limits. You're just not bright enough to be perfect. There's imperfect information. You just don't have the information to be perfect, and you've got a constraint on time. You can't live forever. So there will get you. That's where Warren Buffett sits here. How do we know this? Well, he's never had a perfect portfolio where everything's gone up. Not everything has gone up as much as the best performers in the market for that year. He's rarely had the best performer in a market on any given year. He's been here, and that has made him the second, third richest man in the world. Private investors think they're off to this. Yeah, but did you get all your stock picks? Were they 100% correct every single day? Did they go up every single minute of every single day? Usually, if they speak in that accent, you've got a pretty good idea that walk away quietly from them. So let's look at the markets in detail. Remember the goal, one of the goals we're after, 10% improvement would mean an extra 25,000. If you're listening to this in America, convert, or Canada, or wherever else, convert that into your local currency. 10% improvement on $250,000, that's 25,000. You might say, well, it's bloody obvious, Alpesh, I get that. Even if that happens once, and then you compound it at the standard piss poor rate that of growth that your IFA wealth manager is giving you, at least you've got that additional capital. So you only need that once, and then it just compounds, and you're making more and more and more. I should have another column saying extra amount compounded over 10 years, what that's added just by 1 year having a 10% improvement in your portfolio just once. This is not an endorsement. It's just to show you. Now, these numbers are probably out of date, so look them up. But these are the things you want to look at, and the small print as well. They're all much of a muchness. So I just wanted to show you that for your own sake. Because some people don't know what can go into a SIPP. Obviously, UK companies can. I tend not to. ETFs can. Other than the S&P, I tend not to. US stocks is where I live. Investment trusts are bloody awful. REITs, not my thing. Bonds, no thanks. So what you're left with, and don't forget, the reason these work, like any pension, you contribute 80, government puts in 20, total 100. All right? So it's just to simplify it. It's just that people didn't realize that this is the range of things they can put in. This is not an advert for free trade. It's just that what I wanted to show you was this. And all SIPP providers, Hargreaves Lansdown, AJ Bell, Barclays, they will all have this button. So it's not just about opening a SIPP like a bank account. You can also transfer from your existing providers, and it's that simple. Okay, it's very, very, very simple. The mistakes that private investors make the most, it's this. Okay, they buy, the stock drops, they panic. Market recovers, they miss the gains, have a permanent loss. Our clients, path B or path C. Either stock drops and they follow the disciplined approach, market rallies, long-term gains, or they sell as an insurance cost to avoid steeper falls, and they buy back later. Might buy back higher, that's the cost of the insurance, it's controlled risk. Okay, one or the other. This is too subtle and nuanced for your average person. Way too subtle and nuanced on social media. Most people just go, oh, it fell, you sold. They're simpletons. The easiest way to get rich is actually to improve your thinking. Where are we at the moment? The S&P. Now, I did this originally back in, what was that, April time? Whenever that is, March time, when we were at 3. We are, of course, quite clearly, you don't need me to tell you, you can just pull up a chart on Yahoo Finance. We're at 7. What comes after 7? 1. What does 7 mean? It's written here. What does 1 mean? It means this. Okay? We're at 7. When will 1 happen? I don't know. How big will the drop be? I don't know. Where are we on the S&P? Well, there you go. See? 7. Right? When is 1 going to happen? What's 1? When it starts dipping? I don't know. But that's why we do the updates regularly. Earnings, nothing important. Coming up, Cardinal, it's a big company, so is Cisco, but they're not going. So is Applied Materials. They're not about to move the markets, but they're important. All the big earnings have already gone. Where are we over the past week? Overall, it's been good, except healthcare is getting still a bit of a kicking thanks to Trump. But overall, it has been good. Past year, that's where we are. And you can see over the past year, that's pretty anemic for Apple. And all the profits it's made, or earnings, another word for profits, have now, because the year's over, gone from the profit and loss account of their statements to the balance sheet. And therefore, the share price compared to the book value of their assets, their balance sheet value, has gone down because the book value has gone up. How do we know it's gone up? Well, because we know the price hasn't gone up. Okay, and if the denominator rises, as you'll remember from your school, then the overall ratio drops, which means the price to book value has gone down because that is the price, and the price has barely budged. And we know the book value has gone up because the company's profitable, and we know profits move from the P&L to the balance sheet after year end. So that's where we are. Okay, that will, just on that basis alone, be cheap. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the only thing that'll move stock prices. There are things which move stock prices beyond just that. If that was the only thing you need to look at, then you would buy all the ones which are in red and not in green, and so on. So there are other factors, and this in one way explains to you there are other factors. So how are we doing over the past 1 year? Well, over the past 1 year, the Nasdaq's up 32%. The S&P's up 22%. The UK markets are lagging behind those two, which is the norm for the UK, for obvious reasons. Look what's in the Nasdaq and the S&P. Does UK have a Meta, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Nvidia? No, of course not. So what's going to happen? Well, they're going to do better. Simple as that. That's where we are at the moment. Wobbly ride, which is why you don't want to panic or get bored with the markets. What would cause panic? Well, that would cause panic. What would cause boredom? Time. What to do? Neither. So where are we on Apple? I'll just show you one. This is Apple. That's the earliest you'd want to get in, when the weekly is rising and the monthly is flat. No guarantees it'll continue going up despite the longer term trend. Everything else I will keep for my private clients. So all the other stocks in our quarter 44 in our quality 5 plus, I'm just going to keep for the clients. Have a look at campaign for 1 million. My mission to teach 1 million people how to be better investors, for a ton of free resources, everything from internships and jobs to books, videos on how to invest better as well. I've been doing it for a long period of time. You can see from when I was a young man with hair to an old man with a belly. The Prime Minister of Canada there, and the King over there. Oh, I nearly did that and said King. Anyway, that's where we are with all of that. We've also got model portfolios. The model portfolios are created on the further filtered list. So we look at the companies which are undervalued, high growth, good dividend deals, good sortinos, consistent track record, in other words, are moving up, and if they fall, they go back. But because we can't guarantee the future, you don't just pick one stock. You have a portfolio, maybe 20 stocks, maybe 40 stocks. And then you look at the annualized returns to take into account the really bad years like 2018, 2022, and see if you can still get good returns without cherry picking. And you avoid cherry picking by making sure that you've looked at, well, two main ways: a long enough duration historically, and you've ridden through really bad periods like 2022, and as many of those as possible as well. And you want to keep that ideally below 10%, that as high as possible. And then you say to yourself, well, wait a minute, would I be happy with a model portfolio if that doubled and became a 25% drop, and that halved and only became a 15% per annum return. Yes, because that would still double my money in 5 years, and that would become irrelevant because I've seen it historically, and not to panic over it. And that's what it looks like. In terms of volatility, since 2017, you get years which can be very high and you get years which like that. So it's not a bank account amongst any of the model portfolios. There is variance and variability, which is why if you started this year or you started that, you say, well, this is rubbish. You've got a broken system. Look at it. I didn't make 33%, geezer. I thought I did. Which is why you don't flip a coin once and say it only throws up tails. You flip it more than once. In other words, you give it a little bit of time to produce. If you want to sack your IFA, there's the letter you can write. Pause this screen, take a note. That's what you would write. If your IFA is St. James's Place, your financial advisor, St. James's Place, wealth manager is, this is the letter you write to them. Feel free to pause and this video and take it from there. Like and follow for more information such as this. Okay. This is from Goldman Sachs Wealth Management. I've shown it many, many times before. It's their content database. That's what we're off after, the 30%, which comes from companies which generate the most most post-tax cash. So the most cash on the capital that they invest. In other words, the ones which are best at creating money-making machines. To buy the machine, they have to invest capital, and that's the cash cow. So it's either a cow or a cash-making machine. Whatever you look at, it's the companies in the top quartile, top 25% that produce 30% per annum. If I had nothing in my life on a desert island and they said you can only take one PowerPoint slide with you, this would be the one. Okay, the way we do it, as you may well know, value, growth, income. Sometimes I get clients who panic when they see this. Deepak, don't panic. Look, it's all blurred out. Okay, and they will say, "Oh my God, why are you telling everybody everything?" So we will look at valuation, growth, income, cash return on capital invested, momentum, Sortino. They all need to be green. They all need to be green because you're filtering, and we will look at 10,000 equities across every single exchange which could go into my pension or my wife or son's pension. I've written about this in my 200-odd columns in the Financial Times, many times in my 200-odd shows for Bloomberg Television, and in my 18 books as well, and the approach and why it works. Why does it work? Well, it works because you're doing what any idiot would tell you to do. Look for undervalued companies which are growing, produce dividend yields, have a consistent track record of high average returns with low downside volatility. You might say, well, that doesn't capture everyone. Remember what I said, we're not looking for perfection. We're looking for a team that can win the Premiership. Not every member of that team is going to be the best in the world at what they do. So they're not going to have the greatest goalkeeper or the greatest defender or the greatest forward, but you're still going to win the World Cup. Got it? Thank you very much. That is the weekly update for you. Don't forget, call to action. Go there. Thanks, everyone. More coming soon.